Everyone, and welcome to the Path to Math Mystery. Mystery. Today we will be discussing exponential functions. So, we've got the function y equals 2x, or should I say 2 to the x power. And now we have to graph this entire thing. This seems unrealistic. How are we supposed to graph something to the x power? Well, here's my best attempt at it. We create a graph, we find the asymptote, we decide how to do the points, we do not touch the asymptote, and then we decide how to do blah 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 blah. Okay everyone, that's the video. I think we did a great job, right? Yes? Excellent. Let's begin. So our first step is we're going to create a table. And we're going to say this is x, and this is y. And then we're going to give this point -2, then -1, then 0, then 1, then 2. And now what we're going to do, is we're going to plug in the x's into the equation. So you have y equals 2x. All we're going to do is we're going to put this x here, that x for x, that x for x, all of them. So we get y equals 2x. So that would be y equals 2 to the -2, which in a previous video we discussed that this is 2 over 1, and we just flip them, so 1 over 2, and then to the second power gives us 1 to the 4th. So when x equals -2, y equals 1 to the 4th. Now we're going to try it when x equals -1. So we get 2 over -1, which would end up giving us 1/2, because it's 2 over 1, and then we flip it. And since it's over 1, nothing happens, so it's 1/2. Now we have 2 over 0. And then 2 to the 0th power would be 1. Now we do 2 to the first power, which would be 2. And then we do 2 to the second power, which would be 4. And now we graph it on the equation. So when x equals -2, y equals 1/4. Put it here. When x equals -1, y equals 1/2. When x equals 0, y equals 1. When x equals 1, y equals 2. When x equals 2, y equals 4. And now we're just going to draw a line. And we drew our line. So we have y over 2x. So this would be 2x plus 0, right? So what's our asymptote? Our asymptote is basically what we're adding our number by. So our asymptote would be 0. Now what's our domain? So our domain is our x. Well, our x, as you can tell, our x is always going to go. It started here. It can go all the way over here, and then all the way over here. That means that our domain is all real numbers. What about our range? Well, our range, we started at 0. Well, we never actually touch 0. As you can tell, our graph will never touch 0. So it's basically any section that is above 0 is our asymptote. So everything here above 0 is our range. So our range is anything here above 0. But we have nothing above 0, which would mean, I should have used a highlighter, right? I'm just not using my brain, right? We use the highlighter. So, high thickness. Like this. So anything above here, anything above 0, is our y. So our range is anything above 0. So that would mean that our range is y is greater than 0. And then our y-intercept would be when x equals 0, y equals 1. So our y-intercept would be 0, 1. Now we're going to try the next one. We have y. We have y equals 3 to the x minus 5 minus 5. So what is our asymptote? Our asymptote is going to be negative 5. What are going to be our answer is always going to be above negative 5. So that means our range is going to be y is greater than negative 5. And then what is our domain? Well, our domain, we know that our domain is going to be our real numbers because it's always, the line is always going to go through all of the x's. So now we're going to solve this. We create our table, and then we get 3x to the 3 to the negative 2 power would be 1 to the 9th. 1 to the 9th minus 5 is negative 4 8/9. So that means when x equals negative 2, we're going to get when x equals negative 2, we get negative 4 8/9. So our first point would be negative 2, then negative 4 8/9. Now we've got the next point, which is going to be negative 1. And then that's going to be 1 to the 3rd minus 5 is going to be negative 4 to the 2/3 power. Not to the 2/3, but negative 4 and 2/3. And that's going to be over here. Negative 1, negative 4, and 2/3. Just a little bit higher. And now we have it to the 0. So then 3 to the 0th power is 1. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. So to the 0th power, we get negative 4. Now, if you wonder how I'm doing this mentally, just do it in your brain first. Let's put it like that. So 0 to the negative 4th. Now we've got 1. So 3 to the 1 would be 3. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Now to the 2, we get 3 to the 2, second power, which is 9. 9 minus 5 is 4. And now what we're going to do is we're going to draw our line between all the points. And remember, we can't touch negative 5, and it's not perfectly straight. But it can't touch negative 5 because our graph is always going to be above this asymptote. So we can highlight everything above the asymptote. Oh, or erase it. Yeah, totally. See? Everything above this, our graph is always going to touch a y above it. But it will never touch it. It'll never touch it. So it's everything except it. Now we're going to have a new one. This is a challenge one. Of course it's a challenge one. Y equals 5 times 1/2 x minus 7. So we're going to create our chart. And here we have negative 2 as our x. And then we plug that in. So 1/2 to the negative 2 power is going to be 1/2. And then we flip the sign so we get 4. Remember, 1/2, negative 2. We flip the script so it's 2 over 1 to the 2, which would give us 4. So then x equals negative 2, y equals 4. So, wait, we missed a step. Look, we got 4, right? But then it's 4, and then it's 4 times 5, which gives us 20, right? 20 minus 7 equals 13. So it's actually 13. So when x equals negative 2, y equals 13. And we don't have to put it on the graph, so we're just going to go a little bit above the graph, because it's off the graph. Like, the graph can't cover it. Now we get y, and then to the negative 1, which would be 5 times 1/2 to the negative 1 would be 2. So then 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. So our answer would be 3. So negative 1, 3. Right? Yes? 2, 10. Yes. So now we do it to the 0. So 0. So that would be 0 times 1/2. 1/2 to the 0th power is 1. And then 1 times 5 is 5. And then 5 minus 7 is negative 2. So our answer is 0, -2. Oh, and our negative, and then -2 to the 13th. Right, it's there. It's there. Just making sure. Jeez, I'm just bad at math. No more. I'm tired. Now we've got to the first power, so that would be 1/2 to the first power would just be 1/2, and then 1/2 times 5 is 2.5, and then 2.5 minus 7, 2.5 minus 7 is -4.5. So our answer is -4.5. So when it equals 1, we get -4.5. And then when it equals 2, we get 1/4. 5 times 1/4 is 5/4. So 5/4 minus 7 is -5.75, which would be -5 3/4. So we get 2, -5 3/4. And now we draw our graph. And remember, it'll never touch 7. Bam, 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 bam. Our asymptote is -7. All our y's are always going to be above here, so this is all highlighted. And then, is this growing or is it decaying? Because we started here and we went down, so this is decay. So, I never mentioned this, but when this is a fraction, this little thing being to the x power is a fraction, that means that we're decaying. But when it's not a fraction, when it's a real number, a number above 1, it is growing. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a nice day.